in order to actually do the work of healing from that, you have to essentially kindly open up that scar tissue and learn what that flavor of love is and give it to yourself before you can accept it from anybody else. Hello and welcome to How to Be a Terrible Daughter. This is the podcast where we hate your parents for you as a gesture of love to you. We joke about our horrible childhoods. We talk about how we survive them, and we share the tools we've learned along the way. We had to learn a lot of tools. So who are we? I am Elizabeth. I am a psychotherapist and an artist.
I am Megan. I am an occupational therapist and an energy healer and apparently a podcast host. I don't know how that happened.
Yes. One of my favorites.
Oh,
you're one of my favorite podcast hosts.
Thank you. Thank you. And we are cousins. We almost said it at the same time.
Cousins.
Almost. Yeah, we grew up together in Los Angeles, watching each other's crazy mothers do crazy things, although they didn't let us really interact with each other or play with each other. So it wasn't until later that we sort of started to compare notes and realize, like, oh, shit. No wonder they were best friends.
Yeah, I think it was a brilliant strategy on their part. And actually, I think it helped us in the long run because they thought that they had done what they needed to do.
Yeah,
and keeping us apart. Instead of just continuing to force us together and then destroying our trust in each other. So, yeah.
That's true. I hadn't thought of it that way. They absolutely, if we had grown fond of each other as kids, they would have absolutely done whatever they needed to do to completely wreck that and make sure we hated each other for the rest of our lives. So,
yeah,
good on them. I mean, for trying to keep us apart.
And good on us for being able to sabotage their tactics, right?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Look what's happening to them now. We're airing their dirty laundry in public on the internet. So,
and they're dead.
Too bad. Reap what you sow.
To quote my husband, not dead enough.
Not dead enough. Really.
Not dead enough.
Somebody asked me the other day how I felt when my mom died. And it was someone that knew I had a difficult relationship with my mom. And this is also someone of our parents' generation. And I was just like, oh, so relieved, like without missing a beat. And I could see, like, even though she knew I'd had a bad relationship with her, I could see the sort of like a little tiny bit of shock in her eyes. And I was just like, yeah, even people who know that you had a hard childhood or know that you had a difficult parent, like, it's just, there's this such a deep cultural belief that you're supposed to be sad when your parent dies, you know?
Yeah.
And people just can't wrap their brains around feeling any other way, even if they know that that parent was a shithead to you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and I also think it has something to do with, like, culture. I think we're trained to lie to each other, you know?
Oh, yeah. That's probably true. I'm a terrible liar.
Yeah. Honesty is refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? Is why we hate your parents.
Right, exactly. All of you out there, we hate your parents. We know not a lot of people will understand that, but Jesus, we do.
We don't even have to know what they've done.
We don't
know. If you're listening to us, it sucks.
Absolutely. If this podcast is resonating with you, we fucking hate your parents.
And other people should too.
It's true. Yeah. Well, you know, we're changing the world one person at a time. As opposed to what our parents did, today what we're going to talk about is what they should have done. Very specifically, we're going to talk about something that, Elizabeth, you introduced me to a number of years ago, and I have loved, and I have actually used with my clients, and I have, like, adapted it and modified it and played with it, and I just love it. And they're called good parent messages, which I know you're going to, like, the words good and parent going together. What? I don't even understand.
Dissociating right now.
I know. Dissociating. 3, 2, 1. But yeah, so tell me a little bit about the good parent messages. Where are they from?
Uh, sure. The good parent messages come from the somatic therapy orientation that I learned. So somatic therapy is body related, and mine is called integrative body psychotherapy, which was developed by Jack Rosenberg and Marjorie Rand and Beverly Catane Morse and others. So the somatic therapies come out of the human potential movement from the 1960s, where instead of focusing on pathology, right, like how bad and crazy are you and in what particular ways, they studied people who were what we would now call like self actualized, right? So, like, fully alive people who were leading satisfying lives and, seemed just doing great. And so that's kind of what came out of that. And the good parent message are kind of like the 31 flavors of love. Right? There's not 31, but it's like as we grow as a child up into adulthood, the things that we need get different. It's like nutrients or something like that. And we start out needing very simple things, and then it gets more complicated. So I'm just going to throw out a couple of good parent messages for you to give you a sense about how the flavors are a little bit different. So you are special to me. That's like an early one, right? I will say, though, that an even earlier one is, I want you. So the good parent messages are messages that parents could, it would be great if parents gave these to their kids. And so what ends up happening is that as people get older and become adults, we learn how to give them to ourselves, right? We know what it feels like to be wanted, right? By the people who care for us. And so we learn the habit of wanting ourselves and choosing ourselves and loving ourselves in that particular way, right? The same thing about when a parent shows you that you're special to them, you can end up learning how to do that for yourself. And it also helps you set what you want for in a relationship. So like if you get these messages and you grow up and some guy comes up and wants to date you, but somehow doesn't want you and you don't feel special, you can kick that guy to the curb because it just doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, but if you don't get these messages, then there's sort of like these empty spaces. I could go on for hours.
So basically, these are messages that your parents ideally should have said to you if there was an appropriate attachment relationship, which we know with narcissists and other personality disorders, there are attachment issues, right? They can't really attach. And so these are things that a parent who was emotionally mature and securely attached to their child would say to them. And then once you hear them, you start to believe them, right? Because you're a little kid, right? So you're looking to your parents for like how to do almost everything in the world, but how to love and be loved, right? That's sort of one of the first things that we look to our parents for. And so when they say these to us, we internalize them, is sort of what you're saying, right? So then if someone later on in life says something different to us, like you're a piece of trash, we go, wait a minute, that doesn't match with what I know about myself and what I've always known about myself since I was a baby because I heard it from my parents all the time, right?
Right. There's no vulnerability there, right? Because you're like, I am amazing. Like, what are you talking about? I also will say that these are in word form because a lot of times, I think as terrible children, we understand that we can be told lots of things and that words don't mean shit. So the messages are in word form so that we actually have like an intellectual toehold to create an experience of it if we've never had it. So, you can have a parent who never told you you're special to me, but, every Sunday you guys went out together and you did something special and it was just the two of you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that tells you, like love language, right? The love language doesn't have to be, words. So, but we have them in word form so that we can actually start learning them. So, is it okay if I kind of break down one of them a little bit more so that you kind of
Yeah.
get a sense of, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you go on, I just want a little editorial note. Elizabeth is in the middle of a rainstorm, and at least when I'm listening to this, her audio is cutting out a little bit. I can still hear you and understand you, but I just wanted to let people know that if it sounds a little choppy, that's why. But we're here, and it sounds fine. I can hear you.
Thank you for letting me know. Of course, I can't hear that. So anyway, bear with me. So, like, for example, so you are special to me. I learned you're special. That's not the same thing because one, I was taught either you are especially bad, right? Or you are temporarily especially good, but you also have to be legitimately special, right? Like you have to get all A's and you have to win the race and you have to, win the prize and, all of that stuff. So, but when you say you're special to me, right? What that means is exactly as you are. You do not have to be objectively impressive in any way. There's no achievement necessary. It's to me, you are special. To me, right? And that really kind of breaks down any expectation or falseness, right? Because when a parent, like a narcissistic parent, will say you're special, the code for that is as long as you do what I say and be what I want you to be, right? Yeah. You are special to me. But the minute you give me something else besides what I want, you're not special because it's all about me.
I always heard, well, first of all, I only ever heard anything remotely resembling these good parent messages when my mom would be talking to someone else about me, right? Like sort of bragging about me, right?
Yeah.
But it was always, oh, Megan got straight A's and she's, plays this instrument and she's doing this and she's doing that. And she would sort of be like, isn't she just so special? But it was clearly that wasn't directed to me. That was directed to the other person she was talking about. Like she wanted the validation from the other person that, oh, yes, she is very special, right? Because I'm like, doing my job as a good object for her, right? I am impressive. I am an object that works particularly well that day, right? So
yeah,
there's a big difference. And I also used to get all the time from my mom, I love you, which you would be like, well, that's great. But this is how it sounded. And it came with I'm going to do, you guys can't see me, but I'm going to do the gesture that it came with. Elizabeth will be able to see it. But I think the voice of this alone is enough. This is what I got.
I'm creeped out already.
I love you. Oh. With these like huge outstretched arms, like grasping for me. And she would always want a hug. And it was clearly such reassurance for her and had nothing to do with me, right? It was like she was saying, I love you, but what she meant was, please love me, right? And I think that's exactly what you mean about, we learn not to trust certain words because they don't necessarily, the intention behind what they're saying is incongruous with the emotion we're feeling, right?
Right. I do have to say, I think I need to correct you on one thing, which is those are not arms. Those are the tentacles.
The tentacles.
I'm just saying. Yes. And actually, I think that these are really good examples of how very subtly, I don't know if you can hear it, but very subtly, what happens to a grown-up when they don't get any of these messages, right? So one of the good parent messages is, I love you, right? But your mom needed that from you because she didn't get it, right? So she wasn't loved. And so she put you in this terrible position of you having to parent her, right? And this actually leads to something else, which is that if you don't get a message by a certain point, which is usually kind of like sometime in elementary school, before middle school, right? If you don't get a certain message, you will form like scar tissue over it. And your inability to take it in from someone else is kind of taken away, right? Because you can't go out through the world, with no defenses and stuff like that. The thing about that is that once the scar tissue forms, even if someone does give you that love, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it.
It's not going to feel true. That's what happens to me. Is people
Yes.
say it and it just doesn't land. It's like,
Yes.
That's nice. Like you're
Yes.
special to me. That's great. Anyway, and it's not that I'm not appreciative of it. It's like I can't take it in. I just like you said,
Right.
scar tissue. It's bouncy. It's just like, okay, well, that bounced right off of me. What's next, right?
Yes, exactly. So, and then you're just kind of left with this want, and you don't even necessarily know what it is, but you're kind of immune, right? And so here's the deal, which is that in order to actually do the work of healing from that, you have to essentially kindly open up that scar tissue and learn what that flavor of love is and give it to yourself before you can accept it from anybody else. Okay, so for me, of course, I can't value myself enough, right? But the thing that got me was that I realized that I had people in my life who were giving me all sorts of love that I couldn't appreciate or even notice because I had these, scars. And so I was kind of motivated to, I want to appreciate the love that someone else is giving me for their sake because I love them. So I need to do this work. Anyway, we can use our own crap in order to better ourselves.
We can.
So,
and I want you to just go through and read some of these in a minute so that people can sort of understand what they are. But I want to say too that we were talking when we were planning this podcast that you will know which ones are the ones that you need to sort of work with and work on and help open yourself up to, because you'll react to them very, very strongly. For me, I mean, everyone has a different reaction, but whatever your reaction is, it will be strong, right? So for me, when I hear one of them that I know is something that I need, I immediately want to cry. I just want to cry. It feels overwhelming. And I don't know, what's your reaction, Elizabeth, when you hear one that is one that you really need?
I go away. I just can't keep my attention on it. Or I get actively angry or skeptical.
Interesting.
Because it's that, it couldn't possibly be true. So why are you telling me this? And actually, I remember you telling me once about how, some of the messages made you cry. And I said to you, that's because by the time I gave you the messages, you had already done so much work that you were actually able to take a bunch of them in. So a lot of times, especially, when I was really actively in the beginning of working on them, I wouldn't feel anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel anything because I didn't even have a frame of reference. And it's like I had to watch movies and go to my favorite books and just being like, is there a person in this media that is actually doing, this kind of love? Like, how would I actually see it or in the wild,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think I will read some of them. So there's a lot. There's 22 to 23 total. And the first are younger messages, the first, 15. And then
Meaning things you were supposed to hear when you were younger, like a baby?
Yes. Yeah, baby and younger. And then the other ones, they're kind of out in the world messages. So the first are sort of, we have all this gendered little language. So the first ones are sort of mother messages, good mother messages. And then the later ones are good father messages. I don't agree with that. They are more inside and then outside. So I'm not going to go through all of them because there's a lot, but I love you. I want you. You are special to me. I see you and I hear you. I love you for who you are, not what you do. You don't have to be alone anymore. You can trust your inner voice. sometimes I will tell you no, and that's because I love you. So those are some of the early messages. And what I will recommend is if you're listening to this, you can press pause and just sit with each one. Just if you can tolerate it, right? Or just try one. You just stop the tape and then just sit with one of them and just check in with your body. What are you experiencing? So some of the older ones are, oh God. Oh my God. Oh God. Okay.
Are you dissociating? Has recording this podcast made you dissociate already?
Totally. Okay. Okay. Oh, this is a killer. If you fall down, I will pick you up. Oof. I'm going to cry. Okay. Let's see. I'm proud of you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I have confidence in you. I am sure that you will succeed. Oh, my stomach hurts. My stomach hurts hearing those. So these messages have real depth, and each one creates a real solid foundation in your sense of self. And I will say that I actively worked with these for several years. So the recommendation in my training, they said that we needed to write them every day, longhand.
One at a time. Did you work with, or you wrote all of them?
Yes. No, we would write all of them. And then we were also encouraged to sit with each one, and we could journal about it. And, you write it down and then it's just like, what is this? Or my throat is tight and my chest feels heavy and I can't feel my legs, right? What is that about? Right. And then sometimes it may be like you can hear your parent's voice. Like, what's the thing that they said that is related to this? Or one of the other things that's really painful is that a parent will give you a message and they'll take it away, right? Mm-hmm. So like sometimes you feel like you're special to them, or I don't even know, like you can trust your inner voice, right? So like you were taught to trust yourself up until like a certain point in your development where you were threatening, right? Like in the middle of elementary school, like as a toddler and everything, you were appreciated and loved and whatever. But when you got to a point where your parent was overwhelmed and didn't know how to handle you, and basically that you became emotionally older than they were, that's when things would kick in.
I'm realizing too, there's also sort of these like ways that these messages got almost perverted. Like, when you were saying, I can trust my inner voice, I'm thinking of my extreme hyper independence that I still struggle with.
Yes.
I absolutely trust myself to do everything. And in fact, sometimes have a hard time trusting other people to do things, right? But it is trusting my inner voice. Like, I trust that I will take care of myself and that I will be able to figure things out and be able to, it's the like Hunger Games survivor version of that message, right? It's not the sort, it doesn't come from a place of feeling secure about it, or like it comes from a place of feeling terrified. Like, I have to do this or shit's going to go real bad real fast, right? So
yeah,
I'm just realizing too that there's these ways, it's almost like you need some version of that and you'll make it yourself in this sort of, survivor-like way if you don't get it from your parents.
Yeah. You'll figure out how to do without. And I think it's so funny because there is another message that goes with that, which is you can trust me. But I skipped over it because it's so triggering for me. And I didn't want to say it because it was so triggering for me. I didn't want to say it on the podcast because I didn't want to, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, so in some ways, these good parent messages are diagnostic, right?
Yeah.
Right. And kind of piggybacking on what you said, which is also The other thing that's diagnostic is that if you're like fragmented, if you're struggling with something and you go to your journal and you write and you start writing out the good parent messages, the one that you forget is like the one that you need, which is one of the reasons why it's so helpful to actually learn them by heart. My life essentially changed in a profound way when I memorized them, because intellectually I could pull one out, whether I had the experience or not. And that was for me or for my clients, right? And then it was like, oh, that's what that means, right? It's like this particular love, this particular healing, right? Oh, like this is it. So my love will make you well, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know how like, in stories, right? A kid will be sick and, they'll be made soup and, you'll get like a blanket and then they'll rub your tummy. I mean, I've heard, I've seen this in movies that, and that just being cared for by your parents or your grandparent, it does make you well, right? I mean, you understand as a medical intuitive how the love and care and affection does promote the healing process.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to pause for a second because you dropped a term that I don't know if everyone knows. We talk about what being fragmented means, because I'm guessing most people listening to this podcast have been fragmented at some point. And I have.
Most of my life was spent fragmented until I actually did this therapy. So I will say that I could, with your help, do an entire podcast episode just on fragmentation, because that is also a very rich and deep thing. But basically, so when you are present in your life and you feel good, and as I'm saying that, I realize that this may be incredibly rare for anybody who's listening to this podcast. So when you are feeling present and good and alive and in your life, that's not fragmented. That's when you are like whole and complete, right? Mm-hmm. And what I will say is, after doing a lot of this work, most people that I know of are pretty much living their lives fragmented. So fragmented is basically when your sense of self breaks into different pieces and you kind of feel broken inside a little bit. Like it doesn't have to be like a huge fragmentation, but if you are not present and in yourself and in the world, you're fragmented. So fragmentation is kind of like being pregnant. A little pregnant is still pregnant, right? So fragmentation is when we are living with pain that is from the past, right? But it's triggered by something in the present. And what we need to do is to put our pieces back together so that we can actually be whole and present in our lives and enjoy being alive. Yeah.
So it's when either your thoughts or sometimes your behavior, sometimes you're not even aware of it. So fragmentation can be unconscious.
Yes.
Are really not about what's happening in the moment, but are about something from your past. So a really good example of this that I think you and I joke about all the time is playing the Who's Mad at Me game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. All of the above.
Right. Who's going to be mad at me? Right. So this is when you do something in your daily life, like you are, waiting in line to pay at a cashier or something, and it's taking you a long time to decide what you want to order. Right. And mentally, we start going, oh God, the cashier is going to be annoyed at me. The person behind me is going to be annoyed at me. Like all these people are going to be mad at me. Right. That actually has nothing to do with the present moment. I don't know. For all I know, that cashier doesn't care at all, and the person behind me is involved in a deep text conversation and needs a hot second to actually finish that before they get to the front of the line, right? Like I literally have no idea, right? Like I am ascribing what I think other people might be feeling to them based on just my own internal experience of having someone be mad at me all the time growing up, right?
Yes.
Potentially mad at me for things that
for every reason.
And for every reason, right?
Yeah.
So that would be like a small example, right? I am not in that present moment. I am not solely concentrating on, which coffee am I going to order here, right? And what sounds good to
Yes.
me right now. I am not completely involved in my own internal experience. I am living partly in that and also partly in the past where I kind of constantly scan to see which of my behaviors were going to make my mom mad at me, right? So
100%.
that's like, one example of it. And it's, like you said, it's very pervasive. I feel like a lot of people live fragmented all the time or most of the
Yes.
time. And
Yeah.
you don't even realize you're doing it. You really don't even
No.
realize you're doing it,
It's like the good parent messages, which is that if you don't know what it feels like to be loved, you can't register. You know what I mean? It's like, do fish know what water is? No, they just swim in it, right? If you have ever said, which I know you have, the you that are listening to this, if you've ever said, I don't know why this is bothering me so much, this is not a big deal. Like, I know intellectually it's not a big deal, but I'm so upset about this. You're fragmented because the emotions and the beliefs and the body experience from the past are coming into the present moment. And the thing about that, and of course, if we ever do a whole episode, we could just enrich it, is that's actually not pathological. It's like an organic process. It is a particular pain that's ready to be addressed and healed coming up in that moment. And part of the way you actually heal your fragmentation, part of the way that you put your pieces back together is by going through the good parent messages and figuring out the love that you didn't get.
Yeah.
And giving it to yourself in that moment. Can I tell a story about a message that blew my mind?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something that happened. So let's see. I did my training in, maybe 2010. I can't remember. Something like that. It was several years. So I had started working on the good parent messages, and like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, late 2020, I had this aha moment, which is there's a good parent message, which is, okay, I welcome and cherish your love. And of course, it took me years and years and years to get to this one. And I just had this brain explosion, which is that like, I spent so much of my time trying to show my mom that I loved her.
Mm-hmm.
She just shit on it. She never saw any of the love that I gave her. And of course, I think you get this. I'm pretty good at loving people.
You are good at loving
I've gotten really, really good at it. And it's not a bad thing, right? Like, I love the people that I show my love to, but it's also this, like, I didn't get it. I had so much love to give, and it never got seen, ever. And so also, like, when people would give me good feedback, just be like, God, I just feel so loved by you. And like, thank you for doing this. Or like, whatever. I just didn't understand. I was like, well, of course I would do that. Like, what's the big deal? But it's like, just because no one ever recognized until I was, grown, no one ever recognized the love that I gave them. It was nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I had that experience too. And as a little kid, you learn what is valuable in terms of relational skills by having something you do be appreciative. And I'm thinking even back to like a little baby smiling at its parents and the parents smiling back, right? You learn, like smiling at people gets me something back, right? But that's true too, even along the way. Like, I had the same thing. I spent most of my childhood thinking that I just wasn't quite doing it right in terms of getting my mom to understand how much I loved her, right? Like, I needed to try it like a little tweak here, or try this a little bit differently, or, I constantly felt like I wasn't doing it right, or there was something wrong with what I was doing. And you're right. She just threw it out. She threw it out like it was, sewer water or something, right? Like, it was just almost like repulsive to her, right?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't doing it right. It wasn't that I loved her. It was because it was never quite right. Right. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, how could you possibly have ever learned that that was not only just
Right.
valuable, but that it impacted someone in a positive way? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you don't get the love, you're going to spend the rest of your life looking for it, and you won't be able to find it because you won't be able to recognize it
Yeah.
in other
Yeah.
people. So,
Yeah.
and what you're going to do is you're going to project onto other people. So I had this experience recently with my kid. They were talking about, they were having some really complicated negative feelings. And I was there with them, and I was, I was listening, and I said to them, I said, a lot of people feel the way that you do. And it's really normal. Like, people feel that way all the time. And they had a completely different reaction than I was expecting. They looked at me and they were like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you talking about other people? Like, it's my pain. You're making me feel bad because you're telling me that other people feel this way. And it was like, what? Because, I mean, I'm so glad that they told me, right? That was not my intention at all. But for me, the good parent message that I had never gotten was, you don't have to be alone anymore.
Right.
So a lot of times people are comforted by being told, you're not the only one who's ever felt this way. This is normal. You're in the community of human people. You're not alone when you feel this way. Like, that's often something that people need to be told as comforting. But my kid, who is being brought up with someone who has these tools, has a completely different mental landscape. And I'm so glad that they told me, because it never would have occurred to me that what I was saying was being received in this completely different way. And that actually kind of leads me to a really important general thing, which is, no parent, no matter how good, can ever give a child the exact flavor of love in the exact amount at the exact right time. I say this as a parent myself. I've really had to deal with this, right? But that, like, you can't do it perfectly, and that it's not like we're broken and fucked up. Everyone comes into adulthood with these gaps. Everybody.
Here's the difference.
Yes.
Is that your kid can say to you, that wasn't the right thing at the right time. And because you are not your mom, you were able to pause, not get defensive, think about it, and say, thank you for telling me. Right? Like, that's the big difference. That's the difference.
Well, and I'll tell you why. Because one of the good parent messages is, I see you and I hear you. And I was never, I was seen, heard sometimes, but completely distorted, right? It's completely distorted. So working on the good parent messages and doing the journaling. Journaling is a great process to see and hear yourself. There's no way I would have been able to see and hear my kid in that moment if I had not done the work. There's no shortcut. And that's actually one of the things that I really loved about my theoretical orientation, which is, I've said this before, but that, like, I never asked a client to do something that I had not done.
Yeah.
I lived the tools. I worked through them. It wasn't like I was picking it out of some article or a book or something and being like, you need to do this. It was like, no. Like, I've done this work and I continue to do the work, right? Of course, right? Because we all fragment. And it's like, oh yeah, oh,
and I think
what I need.
Something I'll just say about starting to work with these messages and even starting to work with feeling fragmented. I think feeling fragmented is a great time to pause and be like, wait a minute, what kind of love do I need to hear? Right? Like, what do I need right now? Like, what do I need to hear? Right? And maybe it's you're not alone, or maybe it's whatever. But I think that, something really important to mention is, if you're just starting on this journey and you're just starting to look at, like, your big emotional reactions and what they may be tied to, is that the step of stopping and recognizing and being like, wait a minute, why am I reacting so big to this? Sort of like you said, right? Like, what is happening here, right? Why does this feel so big? Is such a huge first step because you have just made the unconscious conscious, right? You have just made it. So instead of just rolling with it and believing that what you were feeling is fact, right? Like, oh my God, they do hate me and now they're never going to talk to me again and right? Like whatever emotional, roller coaster you're on, which we all get on them, stopping and being like, wait a minute, do my thoughts actually match the situation? Like, am I sure that this is true, that that's what's happening here? Or could this be something I'm believing because of my past history, right? Because of the abuse I went through. And I just want to say that getting to the point where you, Elizabeth, are, right, where you've worked through this and you can hear your child say that in the moment and that's like, ninja level, right? But it's so important not to rush yourself through, just recognizing when it's happening, recognizing like, oh, I'm feeling some kind of way right now and I need a certain kind of love. And I think the good parent messages are a great place to go sort of figure out what is it I need to hear right now? What did my child need to hear? Like my inner child need to hear when I was younger, right? What message did they need? But, you spend a lot of time still being kind of miserable, right? Like your emotions are running the show.
Yes.
But it's a huge step to recognize, like, wait a minute, I think this is actually about something that happened to me in the past and not about what this person just said 2 minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to say, like, even if that's where you are and it can still feel really frustrating to be there, you can't skip that step, right? That's such an important place to be and to respect and to take the time to really find out what it is your inner child does need, what kind of love they do need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your psyche is like a garden, right? In that there's no point in watering when what you really need is to just weed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you can't skip steps in a garden and you can't go by the book and you can't be like, well, it's September, these shoots should be coming up already. No, right? It's you come to yourself and it's like, okay, what is true right now? What do I need right now? And there's no shortcuts. There's no like best thing, right? It's like, oh no, like I can feel, oh, like the leaves on this plant are too dry. I've been watering, so maybe we need to put some shade in or something like that. Or like we need to aerate the soil or something. It's going to be different every time. And you cannot timeline it out. It's just about what you need in the moment. And it's about creating this authenticity with yourself and asking for the truth and accepting lovingly when you can the truth that you are expressing to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Loving on those parts of yourself that are hurting. Like, I think that's the most important thing because we were taught as kids of narcissists that if we were vulnerable or we were hurting or we were in some way not perfect, that was bad. Right?
Yeah.
So just starting with like, oh, I'm having a big reaction here and I just, flipped out at someone or flipped out on myself, right? I'm beating myself up. I'm going to stop and just love that part of me. That part of me needs love,
Yeah.
So even just starting with that and then getting more specific with like which good parent message is it? But yeah. All right. I'm looking at time and we should move on to our crazy mom off.
All right. Yes.
Do you want to go first or should I go first?
I can go first.
Go first.
Okay. I'm starting to realize that my mother ruined every significant event in my life. I can't.
God,
I didn't figure it out
so much. I'm so glad, not dead enough, but like, I'm so glad she's dead. She can't ever meddle in anything in your life again. I'm so happy about that, both for you and your child. Okay.
I know. It's so great. That's so great. Okay. So this is a story about my baby shower. So I was pregnant in my 40s and it was a difficult pregnancy. Like I was handling it, but like objectively people were just like, this is hard. Like, So my mom, of course, had this huge lavish baby shower with all of her friends. I knew that it was a big spectacle. It was fine. I was like,
Yeah.
you know what?
I was there, by the way, and it was so
Yes.
painfully uncomfortable to be at that shower. It was so clearly forced. Like everything about it was forced. It was just, I was so uncomfortable. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I knew it was for my mom. I mean, like, I
Yeah.
under
I mean,
no
no, I
emotions.
wasn't. I was uncomfortable
with these
for
people.
you. Not, yeah, exactly. It was just, anyway, go ahead.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Yes. So, okay. No, that's so interesting because, like, I had just opted out. And actually, to be fair, I actually had a very small. My mom kept being like, well, why don't you invite your friends and blah, 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 blah. I had a very small baby shower with just close friends, some of my Ascension friends that she didn't know about, of course. So
Good.
keep this in your hat for later.
You gotta hide your joy.
So you absolutely have to hide your joy. So it was not an easy pregnancy. And so at the end of the party, like most people had left. I mean, it was just, whatever. And my husband had gone to get the car and they were actually like putting the presents in our car and everything. And I needed to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom and I was planning on going back and saying goodbye to my folks. But I got out and just this wave of exhaustion hit me. And I actually sat down in a chair next to the bathroom in the lobby. And I was so tired. And what I will say is that there was actually a point in time during the opening of the presents where I had felt something like that before, like during the party. And one of the, daughters of a mom's friend who was, I think, a doctor was just like, could you get her some water? Like, and made sure that drank. So it wasn't like I was fine. Like, it was actually something that had happened in the middle. It wasn't a big deal. I was like, oh, thanks for the walk. I was so tired. And I realized that I did not have the energy to do anything but walk to the car. So I called Eric on the phone and I told him. I didn't go back and say goodbye to my parents. I went straight to the car and then I immediately, of course, phoned my dad because my mother, of course, didn't have a phone that she used. And of course, no one ever called her. So I phoned my dad to tell them like, hey, I'm not feeling well. And so I'm just, thanks for the party, and he didn't pick up. So I left a voicemail and my mom lost her fucking mind. She was enraged that I had not said goodbye. Of course, completely bypassed that I had been exhausted, right? And this was actually about like my physical well-being, right? And it's not like people were gone. I mean, it was like, but of course she didn't get what she wanted, right? Which was the last, bow and kissing of the ring or whatever. And she was like, we were so worried about you, like yelling at me. You know what I mean? It's just like, what?
You know, when someone's screaming at you in anger, I'm so worried about you, that's a mixed message. There's something else going on there.
Yes. We'll be right back after these mixed messages.
Exactly.
So it's not about you. So, and it never was. Never was. Because she was incapable. So anyway, that's my mom's story.
I mean, I just want to say for one thing, like,
so horrible.
I see, you said you weren't feeling well during the party. That shouldn't have even mattered. You were very pregnant. You don't have a baby shower until you're like very pregnant, right? Like,
yes.
And so you as a pregnant person are allowed at any time to be like, I am not feeling well. I have a whole human being inside me doing some shit and taking my resources, and I need to bow out. But of course, she could never understand that. She could never understand how you could prioritize your own needs and take care of yourself over her.
Yes.
Right?
How dare I do that?
Everything was a performance to her. Everything was a performance to her.
Yes.
And all about her. All about her. She very much, especially when she would throw those parties, wanted people to kiss the ring. You're right.
100%.
You know, it was all, oh, this is the most amazing party, and you're such an amazing mother for doing this for your daughter. And blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, not asking if her daughter even wanted it in the first place,
Of
right?
course. Of course.
Which you didn't, and that would have been fine. It would have been fine to be like, I don't feel like having a big baby shower. I'm not feeling well. And I know I'm not going to feel well on that day because I have been not feeling well for my whole pregnancy. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, what a bitch.
And the kicker, I had totally forgotten about this. You know how narcissists travel in packs. When my mom kind of announced that she was giving this baby shower, I got a phone call from one of her friends and was like, I'm very upset because I wanted to be the one to throw you a baby shower. I've wanted to do it for 20 years and your mom isn't letting me. And I'm just like, we don't talk. I have never heard you say that you would ever want. We talk. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
this is a complete fabrication. We do not have a relationship. Did you ever tell anybody this thought? I mean, it was like, anyway, yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, they're both dead.
Well,
Thank God.
now I'm
They're
really
all
glad that I don't have a baby.
no, no, no. You gave it the office. You survived your mom. You had to parent your mom. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
so yeah, you get to live your life. You get to live your life now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's terrible. I hate your mom. I hate your mom so much.
Yeah.
My hope for you is that every celebration of you that happens for the rest of your life is consensual.
Thank you. Well, I don't have this is why I don't have parties.
I know, but like, I hope that if you ever decide that you do want one, that like yeah, I don't just, ugh, God, she's terrible. Narcissists even
Birthday
ruin our birthdays and holidays because I'm the same way. I don't like having a birthday party. It's just, they ruin everything. They fucking ruin everything.
Too much
All right.
pressure.
Exactly. I have two things. One is what I'm calling a bad parent message as like an antidote to the good parent messages. And then I have a story. So my mom used to love to triangulate between my sister and I. And so she would constantly be pointing out to the other one what their shortcomings were compared to the other sister, right? If that makes any sense. And so my sister was naturally very, very thin. Still is naturally very, very thin. She's just one of those people. My dad is the same way. They're rail thin, can eat whatever they want. They're rail thin. My mom and I have the same metabolism where we are Eastern European peasant stock through and through. I am ridiculously strong, but I also will use I can survive for an entire month on one potato. Like I would be fine. I would honestly be fine. And so I have not been rail thin my whole life. And my mom used to say to me all the time, this is the bad parent message. She used to say to me, and I am talking when I was like maybe 12 years old, maybe. Starting then, she would say, it's too bad about your body, but at least you have a pretty face.
And it was like I dissociated in the middle of that.
Thank you. Like, is that a compliment? Like, what the actual fuck? Right? And she would say to my sister things like, God, I'm just so jealous that you're so naturally thin. Not everyone can be a beauty like your sister. Or something like that, right? And I was just like shit. It was like, what are you doing? Like, I didn't need to grow up in the patriarchy. I had my mom.
What a guarantee that I'll never want to be naked in front of someone ever in my entire life.
Right, exactly. Right.
No?
Okay, so that's the bad parent message. This story that I have is something that literally occurred to me last night where I was thinking about something that happened when I was a kid, and I went, oh my God, that was abuse. I thought it was normal.
We're still doing this. We're still figuring this out.
So, okay. So when I was a little kid, I used to have UTIs all the time. And I'm talking like a little kid, which is really unusual, right? Like
Yeah.
7, 8-year-olds with UTIs all the time. And so my mom would take me to the pediatrician and I'd get antibiotics. And every time I go to the pediatrician, I would get the lecture about how you can't wipe back to front, that's how you get UTIs, right? I'm sure you've heard that, right? I,
Yes.
of course, did not wipe back to front ever, but especially was aware of it after the first or second or third
Right.
UTI because they're horrible. And like, who wants
Yeah.
a UTI, right? So I was always very,
Right.
very careful.
Right.
It just occurred to me last night. I was thinking about how, so I just moved to Europe and the water here, the tap water is very good. It tastes good. I am very sensitive to the taste of tap water. If it has any kind of like, I don't know what they treat tap water with, but it tastes like, to me, it tastes like you just dipped a glass of water in a swimming pool and you're drinking it. Like it tastes like straight, like chemicals to me. And I have a really hard time drinking a lot of tap water. I'm just very, very sensitive to, I mean, taste in general, right? But tap water especially, if water tastes chemically at all, I do not want to drink it. And so as an adult, I have either bought an expensive water filter or I'll like put a little bit of juice in it or something to sort of mask the taste of the chemicals, right? I've figured out ways around it. But as a little kid, I just didn't want to drink the water. And it was the only thing I was ever offered as a child to drink was water. I wasn't allowed to have juice. I wasn't allowed to have soda. I wasn't allowed to have any of this stuff. And I never wanted to drink it because it tasted like chemicals to me and it made my stomach hurt, right? So I would refuse water. And of course, my parents were just like, well, that's your option. You know, it's water or nothing. Like I was some sort of princess that wanted juice because of whatever. I just put together last night that the reason I had chronic UTIs was probably because I was chronically dehydrated. Because I just didn't drink anything.
Yes.
Because that was the only thing I was offered.
Yes.
I also had chronic headaches as a little kid. I'm like putting all this shit together. I'm like, oh my God, I was probably just dehydrated for like 18 years, essentially, because all I was offered was water and the water tasted horrible and made my stomach hurt.
And no workarounds. No even asking the pediatrician, Megan says that the water tastes bad. What can we do to, nothing, right? Nothing.
No. I was just labeled as, too demanding or an ungrateful princess or whatever, right? Like what I was told was the water tastes fine. What's your problem? Right? Like there was never an acknowledgement. But yeah, it just occurred to me. I was like, oh my God, that's why I had constantly had UTIs. I was just dehydrated. I was very, very dehydrated.
Right. Right. Okay. I'm going to put some lemon juice into this wound. Okay.
No.
I'm sorry. No. I'll give you some cranberry juice. So my one memory of the one time we had a play date at your house, I have a vivid memory of sitting at your wooden kitchen table, drinking apple juice.
Really?
Yes.
That was for show.
Yeah, the juice was for company and not for you. And you can have your UTIs and your headaches and your antibiotics, right? And going to the doctor. Right.
And I was told over and over again, like, this is bad for you. You shouldn't have antibiotics this often. Like the UTIs were something I was doing by force of will.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Well, you were because you actually had taste buds. And I mean, this is what I want to say. There are HSPs, right? What do they call us?
Yeah.
What is the
HSP? Highly sensitive person. Yeah.
A highly sensitive person. Right. And that is literally how a person experiences stimulus, right? So, how like there are people who are like super smellers or super tasters, like super smellers become perfumers, right? Yeah. Super tasters become chefs. So like there are people who have these things, right? And it's not pathological and, it's perfectly reasonable. And your dad was a fucking doctor, like you.
And my grandfather was a perfumist.
Right. And you would think that someone would have said, hey, Megan doesn't like drinking water, but she needs to. What can we do about it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How hard is
it? It was always, no, because, but here's the thing. that would have meant that they assumed that I wasn't being willfully difficult on purpose.
Sure. Also, this totally contributes to you being the problem child and an unreliable narrator, right? Well, she's been sickly. You know, we've had to take her to the doctor so many times, right? It's like they'll be able to use that later on, right? As a defense, right?
Yeah.
Against being called out.
Yeah.
I fucking hate your mom. It's not even enough to say that anymore. Flames on the side of my face. Flames here. Side of my face.
Yeah.
I hate her so much. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that just occurred to me last night. Oh, that's why I had UTIs so much as a kid. Like, just now occurred to me.
You know,
because I haven't had them as an adult, shockingly. Like, ever since I became independently in control of my liquid intake, I've been fine.
Yes. Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah. Anyway. Oh my goodness. Well, let's talk about some tools. What did we do to get through this week? What's a tool you use to get through this week?
Do you want to know the silly one?
I do.
Or do you want like a...
No, I love silly. Silly is the best.
Okay. So the last couple of years, I have allowed myself to collect stickers. Again, I used to collect stickers when I was a kid. And I also have made stickers, terrible daughter stickers. Yeah. So I've been collecting stickers and whatever, and I have nowhere to put them. So finally, I picked up one of my journals, one of my, unfinished journals that I'm working on. And I realized that I used to do this where I used to, when I got a new journal, I would kind of decorate every page. Like I could put stuff on the pages even before I wrote on them. So I put a sticker on like every other page, and like I was using like different sticker books and all the stuff. And I put terrible daughter stickers on, and like, which was just felt so good. It's a way for me to like hold on to the art that I find beautiful, because you know how like if you get something from Etsy or whatever, like they'll give you like a little sticker or like a little kind of paper medallion or something like that. And then also what I realized was that I felt ownership of my journal in a way that I hadn't in a really long time. And I don't know how you like, I was sort of always given things that were too nice, then I'd be afraid to use them. Right? Because they were too nice.
She would give small children like incredibly valuable antiques and be like,
yes,
you're so lucky that you own this. But then you would just be terrified to use it because you were told up, down, and sideways how expensive and irreplaceable this thing was.
Yes.
I remember she gave me a Victorian silver mirror and a hairbrush when I was like 10. And like, and I was just like, I don't know, like, I knew that I wasn't supposed to use it, but then what are you supposed to do with it? Just like put it on your shelf and stare at it? Like,
yeah.
Anyways.
Yes. Yes. My mom got monogrammed stationery for my child when they were in like first grade. Anyway, so I
imagine your child writing these like Civil War era letters, but they're 5.
My dearest Clara, as I put shaking pen to paper,
the yogurt was strawberry again, and I really like blueberry.
This cursed world. Anyway, do you like my stationery my grandmother gave to me?
Grandmama.
Okay. And of course, it was like pink, and it's just like, my kid is not the most femme kid. Yeah. I'm like, anyway. So now I have this journal that has something beautiful on every single page, including things that I made myself. And it really feels like mine. And I'm so much more likely to use it, write good parent messages in it, put drawings in, or like mementos or something like that. I found a glue stick, and and I can glue stuff in. And So yeah, and it was simple, right? I didn't have to create some kind of elaborate craft project or anything like that. It was basically like just putting the stuff that I had around my house together
Yeah. And
in.
it's yours.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I made something simple for myself.
I love
Yeah,
that. I love that. Creativity is
me
important.
too. It really is.
Yeah.
Low stakes, low stakes creativity.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the shitty first draft, whether that's writing or anything else. I saw this video on social media last week where this woman was wiping down her counter and she was sort of doing it like a fast and sort of frantically. And she said something about realizing that she performed everything in her life like she was in trouble. And then she stopped and she started doing it slowly and just taking her time and clearly like relaxing in her body. And I was like, oh, I do that. So this week, I started with when I walk my dog, because I'm not going anywhere. I don't need to be anywhere at a certain amount of time. I'm not worried about being late. We're just out for a walk. I started really trying to slow down my pace to a pace that felt good, that felt leisurely, that felt calming. And I have to remind myself probably every 100 feet, slow down, because I start speeding up again. Like I'm going to be in trouble if I don't get somewhere fast or finish the task fast enough or whatever, right? And my dog doesn't care. She's off leash, sniffing around. She's happy as a clam. You know, half the time she's running to catch up with me anyway. So like I should be walking slower for her pace, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I've started trying to do that just with other things too, is just slow down. You don't need to do this fast. You're not in trouble. No one's mad at you. You know,
Right.
You're not in any danger. And so I've really started trying to, again, that first step is at least just recognizing when you're doing it, right? That's always the first step of something. So at least just be like, oh, I'm doing it again. Look at me walking as fast as I can for no reason. I've got nothing to do this afternoon except leisurely walk my dog.
That's so great. And what a good reminder. Thank you for reminding me of doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say, if any of you are questioning whether somatic therapy is helpful in any way or makes any sense, this is the perfect example, which is your body is doing things. The habit is from the past and it's not something that you're aware of, right? Mm-hmm. And there's this, I think it's this Zen principle, which is how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And so we live our lives as if we're in trouble. We got to rush. You know, we can't enjoy ourselves. We have to just go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And that's not actually how we need to live, you know?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm a newbie at it. I'm still practicing, but I'm trying to get better at it. So thank you, random TikTok woman who made that video. I don't remember who you are, but or I would credit you. First of all, I just want to say that the stickers that Elizabeth mentioned are available in our Etsy shop, which is Hideous Offspring, and they are pretty awesome. There's other stuff there too. There's sweatshirts. You brought me a hoodie when you came to visit last time that I've been wearing the crap out of. I love that hoodie. It's warm and soft and I love it. That's one thing I just want to say, that we have an Etsy store.
Thank you.
There's candles. What else is there? There's sweatshirts, there's candles, there's tote bags, yeah. So if you want to announce to the world that you are a heinous offspring or a terrible daughter, go check it out. So that's one thing. The second thing is you can find us on all of the social medias. We are on Instagram, we are on TikTok, we are on YouTube. We'd love to see you there and just, come interact with us, come message us, all of that. We have an email, h2bterrible@gmail.com. That's the letter H, the number 2, the letter B, terrible@gmail.com. Please feel free to reach out and send us a message. Even if you think that you shouldn't send us a message because you don't have anything important to say or we wouldn't appreciate your message. Lies. Those are lies. Those are all lies that you're telling yourself. We love getting messages. It's just...
Tell us something stupid.
Yeah, tell us something stupid. Tell us a bad dad joke. I love those, actually. Please do. But yeah, we just like to interact and know you're there. Yeah, so please feel free to reach out. It might take us a hot minute to get back to you because, we, believe it or not, are not professional podcast hosts. We have other things we have to do in our lives. So sometimes it does take us a second to get back to you. But please know that we do always appreciate your message and we will get back to you. And then the last thing I want to say is one of the most powerful things you can do in your recovery from narcissistic abuse is to be okay with being the villain in their story. They're going to make you the bad guy. They're going to make it out so that you're, somehow horrible or, like Elizabeth said, sickly or, something. You're going to have to be the bad guy in their story so that they don't have to be. And the best thing you can do for yourself is just say, yep, you know what? I'm the villain. So we encourage you to just be the villain, own it. It is your villain era. It is freeing. It is liberating. And yeah, so be the villain. Thank you for listening. We'd be so grateful if you'd follow or subscribe and rate and review our podcast on your favorite podcast app.
Make sure to share it with friends, family, or anyone that you think may benefit from this content.
And as a final reminder, you are not the crazy one.